Welcome to Black Country Xtra and the Sue Stevens Lighthouse Show, the home of music, laughter and candid conversation. Today in the studio we welcome Brian and Maddie Williams. Brian is a seasoned entertainer and Maddie writes wonderful poetry. We'll be chatting about their various life experiences and enjoying some live performances of their work right here in the studio. First though, we'll kick off with a song by Leo Sayer called One Man Band.
Well, everybody knows down Lightbrook Road you have to leap across the street. You can lose your life under a taxi cab. You gotta have eyes in your feet. You find a nice soft corner and you sit right down, take up your guitar and play. But then the lawman comes, says move along, and so you move along all day. Well, I'm a one-man band. Nobody knows nor understands. Is there anybody out there wanna lend me a hand to my one-man band? For 3 days now I haven't eaten at all. My, I must be getting so thin. Soon my cap won't be large enough to drop a half a crown in. So hey there, mister, don't you look so sad, don't look so well at ease, when I can play you any song you like to cheer up that life you lead. Oh, I'm a one-man band. Nobody knows nor understands. Is there anybody out there wanna lend me a hand to my one-man band? And oh, look at the rain falling. Oh, look at it rain. Oh, look at it rain. Nobody sees the minstrel boy as he sings his tale of woe. Nobody sees him coming, nobody sees him go. So hey there, mister, don't you look so sad, don't look so well at ease, when I can play you any song you like to cheer up that life you lead. Well, I'm a one-man band. Nobody knows nor understands. Is there anybody out there wanna lend me a hand to my one-man band? Well, I'm a one-man band. Nobody knows nor understands. Is there anybody out there wanna lend me a hand to my one-man band? Oh, I'm a one-man band. I'm just a one-man band.
Well, that was One Man Band by Leo Sayer, and that's quite pertinent to one guest that we've got, and that's Brian, because he was, and still is, a one-man band. Anyway, so we'll talk about that a little bit, Brian, your one-man band career. I know that's different to what's on the sheet here, but don't worry about it.
All right.
Off you go then. Tell us a little bit about your career.
What can I say? I was playing in folk clubs, playing folk music, and just decided I want to get a bit more into mainstream. During the folk thing, I'd seen Don Partridge. Yeah. And I thought, well, we can put a little one-man band together.
Is Don Partridge really that old? Crikey. That's
yeah.
Back.
Well, sadly, he passed away. He ended up playing the streets in Brixham in Devon and passed away a few years ago. But left us a good legacy of songs.
He did, yeah. He did.
Rosie and so on. But, so I decided that I wanted to sort of get into the mainstream and liven the folk clubs up a little bit. So
Yeah.
I set about building a kit, because you can't just go out and buy the stuff.
No.
I had to blag a drum from one of the music shops in Birmingham and all
How
the
did
bits
you
and
do
pieces.
that? What do you mean, blag a drum? Give
Well,
us
I was
that
a
drum.
salesman, you see, before.
Oh, I see. I'd never have known that.
So I managed to blag a drum and a few bits and pieces, and we had fun, didn't we, putting that together?
Oh, yes.
Because
Getting the
there's
How
no...
did you help then, Maddie?
Oh, yes.
Was you holding it on his
I was
back while he was
pretty
trying
much.
to
Exactly, yeah.
fit it?
Seat belts for the straps.
Really?
And piece of
Okay.
string to get it all, the coordination, it was a bit like elbow, foot,
Yeah.
and I was helping him tie the thing. Bear in mind, I was like 7 months pregnant at the time,
Yeah.
on my hands and knees, trying to fasten this string and get the right sound from the cymbal and the drum.
Oh, wow.
It's all very technical. I mean,
Yeah.
there's one guy who, again, another guy that sadly passed away, a lad from London that I knew, who worked his drum from both feet, the drum and the cymbal. So because with any beat, you've got to on the beat and the off beat, haven't you? So with this guy in London, he used to work the drum off one foot and the cymbal off another. I've got another friend in America, he's an American guy who I know from when I was playing in Norway. And he's got the cymbal mounted inside the drum so that the beater pedal hits the head on the beat and then returns to hit the cymbal on the off beat. So that's how he gets his boom-ch, boom-ch.
Yeah.
And I couldn't work out how to do mine. And I worked out that if you get two pieces of string, one for the hi-hat cymbals and one for the drum, by carefully manipulating your leg and your foot and having the right length of string, the measurement of the string right, you could get the cymbal crash and have the offbeat with the tambourine. As I said, all very technical. But Maddie, bless her, she was there with her scissors and everything else. We're trying to get this thing to
Are you a
work.
good knot tire?
Oh, yes.
So, I mean, obviously, as you said, there was no plan, there's no diagram. There may be on the internet these days, though, maybe. But so, did you go out and watch other performers, or could you find any people that were already busking with as a one-man band?
No, I'll tell you how that happened. I'd gone around one or two of the folk clubs with this kit that I'd built. And then we used to go for a drink on a Saturday lunchtime, take the children the youngster to a family room, and one of my, in inverted commas, mates said, "Oh, you want to take that on the street and see how it works out?" So my first venture onto the street was actually in Halesowen.
Oh, was it?
Before it was covered, before the precinct was covered.
I was horrified.
They used to have that
Wait,
restaurant in the middle.
Why were you horrified?
It didn't seem right, busking, begging on the street,
You're not
But,
actually begging, are you? Because you're giving
well,
a
no.
performance for
Street
what a
whatever
new experience.
street
But
entertainment.
Street entertainment is what
But
it
when
is.
he came back with his pockets jingling, I thought, oh, okay,
Shh, don't tell the taxman. Only joking.
we're going back a long way.
Yeah.
40
I suppose
years.
were there more people about then? Donating or,
Oh,
in the
Well,
shopping
less
centres
less
and places.
performers, but
Yeah.
There were certainly less street entertainers.
Yeah.
I mean, the centre for street entertainment was Europe, without a doubt.
Yeah.
But over here, there weren't many street entertainers at all. And, I mean, I used to get a crowd then. Used to get because it was, I suppose, a one-man band, something different, but used to get a crowd, and that's what the police used to come along and charge you with sometimes, was obstruction.
Oh, was it? How
You
ridiculous.
weren't causing obstruction, the crowd that you were creating were.
Ah, I didn't
So,
know that. That's
there you go.
interesting. Anyway, let's move on a little bit. I know we've gone leapt straight into the middle of your career there, if you like. So you and Maddie met when you were quite young, was that right? Or
I was just 18, nearly
18.
19, but very young. Yes.
Oh. And you met at some sort of a
It
youth
was an
club?
18-plus club.
Oh, it was 18 plus. Do you know what? I didn't want to put that down. I thought, have I written this down because you put down adult youth club, and have I?
That didn't sound
you
good,
know.
adult youth club. did it? No, it was a national organisation, 18+, and there'd be local ones.
And where was this?
Well, I went to the one in Smethwick,
Right.
Bearwood, actually. A pub. There used to be in a pub room, usually. Brian came along selling tickets for a do. They used to get together, monthly
Yeah.
dues or whatever, or they'd join for various weekend acts. There'd be a weekly meeting
Yeah.
and an event at the weekend. We'd socialise with other groups, maybe. And Brian came along, and he was a member of the Birmingham one, which
Right.
was in like a hostel, wasn't it? Some sort of room. So then I ended up going there instead of the Bearwood one when I met Brian.
I hasten to. Can I just quickly
Yeah, go
interject
on.
there that it wasn't? It sounds very boring, adult youth club, but it certainly wasn't. There was lots of drinking and discos and camping
well,
and stuff like that
in
went
those
on.
days, though, wasn't it?
That was when you found your own entertainment.
There
Yeah.
was an annual raft race at Nottingham. We used to, each group had put a raft together for months and months and then watch it sink on 10 minutes on the River Trent.
Yeah.
And we'd camp and then they'd be drinking, of course. And it was, we did it for a couple of years.
So you're from Birmingham, aren't you, Brian? Like me.
I'm afraid I'm originally Peaky Blinders.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know, I remind people because, sorry to say this, but Black Country people have adopted the Peaky Blinders as their own. When I first moved into the Black Country, I used to have the mickey took out of me, something terrible, because I was from Birmingham. So now the same people, I do remind that the Peaky Blinders are actually from Birmingham.
Well,
and I was in a group way back in the 80s, in a group called the Peaky Blinders.
Oh, that's interesting.
Not for very long, but
as we came through to the studio, I noticed the Garrison. And I don't know if people realise, but the Garrison is actually still there in Garrison Lane in Birmingham.
Okay.
It's all boarded up. Yeah. Why they haven't done anything with it, I don't know. But the actual Garrison is still there in Garrison Lane in Birmingham, Small Heath.
Can I ask a question then? Because this happened to me when I met my husband, because he was from the Black Country. And he asked me out. We were at the Romulus back in the 70s, down the Hagley Road. Anyway. And he took me on a Black Country night out, and I could not understand a word. And I was just wondering whether you'd experienced the same with Maddie. Could you understand
well,
everything?
Madeline's a posh Black Country
lady.
Is she? She's from the upper class.
Actually, I can add to that. I used to work in an office of a firm of upholsterers. And the office there was a loading bay next to the office, the reception where I used to work on switchboard sometimes. And I could hear the workmen shouting to each other. And having lived there all my life, I couldn't hear sometimes what they were saying.
Yeah, I couldn't understand it.
I know where you're coming from. I did a show up in Newcastle once upon a time with a Black Country, with a Geordie legend called Bobby Thompson.
Right.
And I did this show with him. And obviously I did my little spot, and then I was sat in the audience, and the audience were in raptures of laughter, and I didn't understand a word that he said, so I, can absolutely comply with that totally.
Yeah, it was quite an experience, a fun one though, I have to add. Right, so you met each other, and was it love at first sight, or?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, was it?
Yes.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Long hair, brown eyes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was a total
And that's just you?
opposite of me. No, I was always a bit of a wallflower.
Yeah,
very
so you
shy
were
and
quite
quiet.
shy.
And he came in and he was organising, as he still, that's the way he is as an organiser.
Yeah, and you thought, well, I want a man like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It just sort of happened, as it did in those days.
That's fabulous. Well, that'll bring us on to the next tune then, won't it? We're going to play She Loves You by the Beatles.
The first record I ever bought.
Oh, was it?
Mm.
Okay, then.
Paid for, not nicked. That was right.
You're trying to say you nicked records? Off we go then with She Loves You. In the original recording of this programme, we played She Loves You by the Beatles. This isn't allowed on YouTube, so we've had to change it for another version by Rita Lee. Hope you like it. She loves you. She loves you. She loves you. You think you lost your love? Well, I saw her yesterday. It's you she's thinking of, and she told me what to say. She says she loves you, and you know that can't be
be glad. With a love like that, you know you should be glad. And with a love like that, you know you should be glad. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Welcome back. After that whirlwind, was it a whirlwind romance? Or
No, not really.
Not
Steady.
really.
We were engaged. Well, actually, we met in the January and got engaged. He asked me to marry him in the February.
Well,
Didn't
there
get
you go. Is that
Yeah, so I suppose
that's
it was.
whirlwind, isn't it?
And we got engaged in the November, and it was about 2 years later.
You know, when you met and he asked you to get engaged. So you met in the January. You were engaged in the
Middle of Feb.
February.
I remember the date because it was an engagement
and you
party.
didn't
with another
think
friend.
this is fast and this is scary. No, you didn't.
No,
You were
just-
overhead.
Yeah, just.
Over.
We're just made for each
It
other.
just seemed
Well,
right.
yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
That's good. So you got married in 1973,
That's right.
and Brian was singing in a band. Then were you, Brian?
Sort of semi-pro. I was selling office equipment and copiers and stuff like that. You know, selling
Yeah.
and playing on the side.
Yeah.
Really.
What, on the side of the photocopier?
In what would be known as a cabaret band, I suppose.
Yeah.
mainstream. You know,
Yeah.
just
So
mainstream show
when you
band.
say it was a mainstream band, you'd do pop
Weddings.
music.
Oh, yeah,
popular-
yeah, covers.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, at
mainly.
the time, weddings. You do many weddings?
Clubs. Not many, no. It was mainly working men's clubs and pubs.
Yeah.
Because
Did
it
you
was-
ever, you know, when you were doing weddings, because I used to find it quite daunting. They say, "Can you sing this one?" And you know, at my wedding, and think, "Flipping heck, I don't think I could sing that." Can you choose something else?
I think being a band, I think what we found was the main criteria is getting them up dancing.
Yeah.
That was the main
Yeah,
thing.
because they always tend to have one special song, don't they?
Yeah, like we did,
Didn't
yeah.
do
What did
that
you
bit.
have then?
We had the Doors, Light My
Doors.
Fire.
Ah, we're going to play that later on, aren't we?
Yeah, that was playing.
That was
at
our favourite
reception.
Favourite group at the time.
Yeah.
The one we took to the floor of the disco at our reception.
Yeah, I never thought that was a dancing song.
It was just one.
Depends how you
sort of
dance, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah. It's a slow one, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, in this band, you say that was your start of that's the start of your professional career?
I suppose, sort of. Yeah, I was playing bass in the
Yeah.
group.
Oh, were
yeah.
you? I didn't know
Yeah.
you played bass.
Yeah, well, people would argue that's an arguable point, but I mean, I can put my hand to it. But I mean, that was 40-odd years ago, wasn't it? So,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And why did you decide to make the break from playing in a band?
I don't really know. I think that this little sort of club, if you, in inverted commas, we used to go to, they used to have folk nights and music nights.
Yeah.
And
You're always looking for something different, aren't
And,
you? You just move on. And
So I started playing,
Yeah.
started playing guitar and
our
and
lifestyle had changed. We got a child,
Yeah, oh,
our
right.
first child, and I didn't go out so much and to the folk nights. And that's where it sort of changed, and the one-man band kicked everything off.
You said something earlier, Brian, about playing in folk clubs, and you thought you wanted to liven them up a bit. You did say that earlier, didn't you?
Yeah, that's yeah.
Because when I was singing in the folk clubs in the 70s, my perception of it then was we seemed to have a lot more fun than folk clubs later. And when I came back to the folk scene after bringing my family up, I went to some folk clubs and I thought it was less fun than it used to be. So that's why one of the reasons I started the Lighthouse, because I wanted people to feel they were happy in an environment, you know what I mean? And I'd experienced sort of,
Yeah,
it
I
was
think-
all about being traditional and almost
serious.
being
Well, that's what
sad
it was.
Serious.
and
I think,
serious.
Yeah.
that's
I'd agree
exactly
with
it.
that.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. I think probably, when I say folk, it's a broad church.
It is actually.
And we were into things like Fairport Convention
Yeah.
and groups that sort of steel ice span, if you like, and groups that took traditional
Yeah.
folk
And rocked it up.
and rocked it up.
That's it,
Yeah.
folk
Now,
rock,
in
yeah.
the same way, I used to go to some folk clubs because they used to call them floor spots, and they weren't open
that's
mics, it was
right,
floor
yeah,
spots. And there was so much, to use a catchphrase really, it's finger in your ear.
Yeah.
You know, no accompaniment. And I found that very boring. I've got to use the word boring. I found it boring, although the songs had some content.
Actually, without insulting anybody out there who is a folk performer, unnecessary, because the reason you stick your finger in your ear is because there's music playing in the background and you may not be able to hear your own voice in tune, but a lot of unaccompanied singers will stand there on their own with a finger in their ear, and I thought, why are you doing that? And I thought, well, maybe they've copied it from somewhere else, but I never.
It probably was a bit of a harsh cliche, really. But that's the point. Was I wanted to do something to sort of put a smile on people's faces and liven the night up. Basically, that was it.
Yeah. So you sang in the band. That gave you lots and lots of confidence to do it on your own. Basically, Maddie was at home. You were going out on your own and just doing your thing.
Gave up the security of his job and just went out on the street. With a 3-year-old and 7 months pregnant. It was my mum wasn't happy. Gave up all that. Phone bills paid and free time. Gave up all that.
But then you said he came back with a ruck of money after performing.
That was the first time.
Yeah, that's great. Shall we have another song then? Shall we do? Let's play 8 Miles High by the Byrds. But before we do that, has that got some sort of relevance?
Oh, very much so. That was when...
More for Brian than...
Yeah, I mean, I that was the time I decided that a 12-string guitar was for me. Nothing else would do.
Yeah.
It's got to be a 12-string guitar.
Because they play a 12-string guitar in the song, do you mean?
In the intro it's heavily featured. And of course there were the Beatles and the Searchers, and the more I listened to the 12-string sound, the more what's the word, I mean, keen on it.
I think it gives you a wider sound, I guess.
I just love the sound of the 12-string, that jangle,
it's a bugger
that
to keep
wonderful
in tune,
Beatles. Pardon?
It's difficult to keep in tune.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I tried a 12-string guitar and it wasn't for me.
But this was a song that did it for me.
Yeah, okay then. We'll play that. We'll play 8 Miles High.
Rain, rain.
Fly by the Birds. Wonderful. Let's just go back to your M&B days, Brian, when you were gigging there for M&B and doing their pubs. I think you've got a little bit of a story to tell us about it, and glasses and being nicked and all sorts.
Well, they what happened? They used to send me to different pubs during the week. It was a great gig because they'd fill every midweek day, Monday to Friday.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And they'd send me along with some T-shirts and free beer tokens and sets of darts. And I used to sort of interject a show with a quiz.
Yeah.
And if anybody got the quiz questions right,
That was when you were a one-man band.
Yeah. This is all the salesman, the selling office equipment copiers. That's all gone now. But this actually wasn't M&B gig. It was just one of the places I worked during that time, which was quite funny. It was a big social club in Whitton in Birmingham that a lot of clubs from around the country used to stay off on their way back from the travels. Say a club had been down to Wembley for the day, they'd stop off at the barn on a coach on the way back to Lancashire or somewhere. So this club was absolutely frantically busy on a Saturday night. It was great. Great gig. But they used to have, because of this, they used to have on their glasses, whether they be short glasses or pint glasses or half pint glasses, they had printed on them, stolen from the barn social club. So my sense of humour, when the club, when the night had finished and it had cleared, the room had cleared, and the staff were clearing the glasses and everything away, and I was packing my gear away, I happened to say to the steward, I didn't want to pinch one. I thought, no, I don't want to do that. So I said to the steward, is there any chance I could have one of those glasses? Because that'd be great. And to my astonishment, he turned around and said, have a set.
Oh, really?
So,
were they pint glasses or just...
No, the ones I had were little short glasses. Short tumblers. Not shorts, but tumblers, slightly less than half pints. But the fun we used to have was when we had guests around the house, I'd bring these glasses out. And, of course, it was waiting for the reaction when they had a drink in a glass that had stolen from...
Did you often get a reaction?
Most of the time. I mean, most people knew what my sense of humour was like, so they just sort of smirked.
Have you still got them?
No, they're long gone.
It's a shame.
Long gone.
We also had a few, they're just ordinary glasses, pint glasses with M&B on, because it was our initials.
Oh yeah. That's crafty.
So we had our own initial glasses.
Cheap at half the price.
Yep.
Were they real M&B glasses though, yeah?
Yeah.
Had you nicked them? Or?
Yes.
Acquired them.
It was a bit of a thing in those days, wasn't it? There was a pub it's not there, the Wagon and Horses in Long Lane, and people would sit outside and they'd shut the pub up and all the glasses would be left outside, you know. And I have to say, me and my husband at the time, we did sometimes, not very often, take a glass, you know. I could do with a couple now, you got any? I've broken 2 pint glasses at home in the last few weeks.
We've got a few packed away in the loft.
Anyway, well, that's a good story. I think we'll have another tune now. Can we have Whitebird by It's a Beautiful Day?
Oh, this is my choice.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Oh, Maddie's choice.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about it first, Maddie, or shall we talk about it after?
Whatever.
No, you choose. It's your show.
Yeah, okay. Well, the reason I chose this is because I'd always, when I, 18, 19, I was still into a lot of pop music.
Yeah.
And then I went on to T-Rex and a bit of progressive, and I loved the blues. And then when I met Brian, he opened my eyes to a whole new genre of music. And I remember this one particularly.
Yes.
And I love it.
When you say you love it, why do you love it? What?
It's just a romantic sort of song, I suppose.
Oh, is it? I have to say, I haven't listened to all of these songs. I just haven't had time this week.
It's a nice, gentle song, and I love all of that. We've got a whole album of theirs, but that's the one that sticks out in my mind that is my favourite.
Okay, then.
Yeah, it's sort of relaxing music. I don't know, and Whitebird, the sea. The first year we were together, we had a lovely 2 weeks holiday in Cornwall. And I'd never been. So
this song was from before you married, or
the first year we met, really, when I was listening to all this music that he got that I'd never heard of before.
Yeah,
and having that first holiday in Cornwall, I'd never been to Cornwall before, and it was just sort of seafaring music and just relaxing. And
was Cornwall in those days quite hippified?
Well, we stayed in Newquay, which was a little bit.
Yeah,
but we wouldn't touch Newquay now. It'd be
because my cousins lived there, didn't they?
That's
and
right.
they
You got
lent me a
relatives there.
surfboard.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll talk about that later. Surfing and
But I'd never
Jumping
seen
off rocks.
Cornwall before, and it was just amazing.
yeah, it's still a lovely place. But anyway, so we'll play Whitebird then.
Whitebird in a golden cage on a winter's day in the rain. Whitebird in a golden cage alone. The leaves blow across the long black road to the darkened sky in its rage. But the white bird just sits in her cage unknown. Whitebird must fly, she will die. The white bird dreams of the aspen tree with her dying leaves turning gold. But the white bird just sits in her cage growing old. Whitebird must fly, or she will die. Whitebird must fly, or she will die. The sunsets come, the sunsets go, and the clouds float by, and the earth turns slow, and the young bird's eyes do always grow. And she must fly. She must fly. She must
welcome back to the Sue Stevens Lighthouse Show. We've got Brian and Maddie with us. We're going to talk to Maddie a little bit now about her poetry. When did you start writing poetry, Maddie?
Quite late in life, considering. We got 3 daughters by then, and I was volunteering in the youngest daughter's primary school.
Yeah.
And I've always liked writing. I haven't done any story writing at that point, but or diary. I had to record things daily, and for years.
Oh, did you?
Always kept. Yeah, I've got diaries going back to.
Have you? I wished I had.
Some are wrapped in a black bag. You would not X-rate it.
Really?
Well, not X-rated, but you know.
And did you write your most, let's say, intimate thoughts down, or
no? Not
can
really.
anybody read it?
No, they're just teenage things.
Oh, okay.
You know, really.
Yeah. Did you write about Brian then, and how wonderful he was?
Well, funnily enough, I stopped writing. I wrote the first few months, and I was so busy with this new life with Brian.
Yeah,
I didn't write
the life of Brian.
The life of Brian. Yeah. So I didn't really have time, I suppose, to write too much then. And it wasn't until the children quite young, and I can't remember exactly what point I got back to my diaries, but yeah. There was only a few years gap. And,
I think it's a wonderful
I've
thing
got a
to
shelf
do.
Full. Yeah. Just day-to-day things, really. But, you know, things happen and you think, oh, I wonder what we were doing this time last year.
Yeah.
So I get my diary out.
Yeah,
So,
great.
and I, at the school, when my daughter was in her last year, there was a little writing group. One of the teachers said, I'll start a writing group. There were about 3 of us that went.
How many years ago was this, though?
35, 30,
No,
30.
No, I thought you
25, 30.
Okay. I thought you taken it up just recently.
Well, I'm coming to that.
Oh, sorry. Just tell me to
That's when I wrote my first, that was 97, I think. I wrote my very first poem at this writing group. It was a Christmas poem.
Yeah.
And then I started working and getting paid for it as a classroom assistant and working with children.
Right.
We were putting literary things together, and I learned sort of construction and stuff, and confident then to stand up in front of a class and talk. And then I started writing. I can't remember what started me up, but because I'd done this one poem, I thought I can do poetry, and I did 1 or 2, couple of 3 a year, and then just before I retired, Brian was doing the open mics. I was going along, and he said, you should read some of your poems. Oh, no, I couldn't do that, you know. But anyway, I was encouraged to start reading, which I stood up. My mouth was dry the first time, my paper was shaking, but I got a good response.
Yeah.
And what I'd said when I stood up was, you have to excuse me, I've not read in public before, but I work in school, and I'm going to imagine that you're a class of 7-year-olds. And that felt, you know.
So they all start screaming.
And of course, then I started, the more you read, I went along to a couple of pubs, and they enjoy my poetry as well.
Yeah.
And it gave me the confidence. And of course, the more you read, the more I write. So, yeah, and then I started, this is since I retired, I've really got more time for it.
Yeah. Do you find that you had more time in your mind once you retired as well? To think about what things.
I suppose I did. I mean, my work, I only worked part-time in the classroom.
Yeah.
And I didn't
but then you've
ever bring it home with me. It wasn't anything like that. I didn't have to do anything at home, so I could forget about it.
And the children had left home by then as well, yeah, I guess.
Pretty
maybe,
much.
yeah.
We may have had the middle one at home because she went on cruising. She was a hairdresser working on cruise ships. So she was away for like 7 or 8 months at a time and then come back. She was the last one to
Is that what you
leave the
wanted to
nest.
do, was go on cruise ships then?
Well, she always wanted to be a hairdresser. She was a
Yeah.
pretty good musician. She
Oh,
could
was
play
she?
clarinet
Okay.
and saxophone. She
Okay.
used to play on stage with Brian until she was 16, 17.
Yeah.
She played some of the big holiday parks, and he'd bring her on for a couple of songs where he could play a saxophone.
Yeah.
But then she went into hairdressing. She said, do you mind if I go into hairdressing? Well, that's what she wanted to do. She's now a mobile hairdresser. But
Yeah.
before that, she had the opportunity to cruise. She'd been all around the
So
world.
how did she get that job on the cruise ships?
You-
I know we're digressing from your poetry here. I just find it interesting.
Oh, it is, yeah. She just, working in a salon, people had talked about it, and you just get these magazines, I suppose, fashion magazines or whatever, and there's adverts.
Yeah.
And what she had to do, we had to take her down to, Southampton? Watford or somewhere.
Southampton. Oh, Watford.
Watford, I think, where she had to spend 2 weeks. She did an interview first, and they
Yeah.
accepted her. Then she had 2 weeks living in the YMCA, where it was like...
Did she have to do some sort of, how can I say, so she had an interview. Did she have to prove that she could hairdress? Because, I mean, on cruises,
well, she'd have had a
sometimes lots of wealthy people on there.
Well, yes, it was very strict, very strict. So when she got the job, then she had these 2 weeks, which were like to acclimatise to cruise situation and learn all the rules and regulations. They were very strict on ships. She had to wear a uniform all the while.
Yeah.
Couldn't walk around in civvies. They weren't to be seen on deck with the, you know. And
Oh,
she
I
did
see.
have a few funny clients that were very uppity, you know, but Zoe was fine. She can handle that sort of thing. So she's been all around the world twice. She did 2 cruises, yeah.
Now, how old was she then?
Ooh, mid-20s, early to mid-20s.
Brave girl.
Yeah, which is why she was later settling down.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah,
Very good. So, so how many poems have you written then?
last count, I did count just the other week, as you asked, about 230.
Yeah.
And I've written a couple since then, so.
And you can't remember all those, can you?
No.
No.
I've just started, I mean, I've got them all printed off, as I've written them in date order. And I've also got them on the computer in categories. So what I'm working on now, I'm halfway through writing a category. So if someone says, can I have a poem about the weather? I mean, I could probably write one fairly quickly anyway, but I can just go to my section and find, a weather poem. Or whatever, you know. I don't do any romantic ones or whatever theme. I've got poems
No,
about
because all the
everything.
romantic ones came when you met Brian.
Well,
I'm
I wasn't
joking.
writing poetry then.
I know.
I have got one or two, I suppose, that
Yeah.
an anniversary one maybe. But yeah,
Okay.
they're all my poems about everyday things, which I
Have
think
you ever thought about setting them to music? You know.
only because people have mentioned it to me, but they're not songs; they're poems.
No, all you got to do though is add
I know
a
they could
chorus
be
in
like
between.
lyrics, but
Yeah.
no, it has been mentioned, but no.
No,
No,
okay, they're just
I like
yours.
poems. Yes,
Yeah, that's fair enough.
stand up and read them and.
And
sit them.
you've started your own poetry group, haven't you?
I did start. First of all, I was asked at my local library to start a writing group. So I did that. Went to another various book groups and that. Writing more poetry, reading more poetry, and I thought how nice it'd be to do a poetry night, because you start talking to people and they say, "Well, I've written a poem." I call them closet poets. And
I've never heard of it.
a closet poet, yeah, you
Never
know,
heard of a
hiding
closet poet
their
before.
poems away. They don't want. They write them, but they don't share them.
Yeah,
And
is
I
that
thought-
because they're just? Do you think they just don't think they're
Probably
good
haven't got
enough?
the confidence.
Yeah.
So where they did this, Brian used to go, or both used to go to this Britannia for the open mic. I thought, what about doing an open mic poetry night? And it was a perfect little room, and to get people confident to stand, you know, in front of a microphone and speak. And
Yeah.
it was running for about 18 months, and I saw people improve.
Yeah.
But then lockdown happened, so
And how does that make you feel when people are coming to your group? They start to get the confidence.
it always feels good, because
It
that's
does
exactly
feel
what
good,
I
doesn't
wanted.
it?
Yeah,
It's a
that's just-
vocation, isn't it? I think.
that's just what I wanted to do.
Yeah, because I like to see people to come to the folk club, you know, and they're nervous and they get up there and sometimes they've got the words in front of them and you know they're shaking like you said, and then they'll only do one because they've only got one prepared, and then a few months later they'll be doing two. And
Yeah. Well, that's how I was at first. I was
Yeah.
really nervous.
Yeah.
But now I'll stand up anyway. I mean, I do poetry readings for people, you know, for groups, whatever.
yeah. So we
and
have
I'm quite-
a poet for
I'm not
hire
very
here.
expensive.
No.
So, yeah, I'm quite confident now.
Okay.
And it's good to get other people to that level.
Shall we have one of your poems then? This
Okay.
one's going to be called The Busker, which
The one-man band, the busker.
is this actually about Brian, you think? or-
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's based on Brian, obviously.
Okay then.
I can't remember how long ago I wrote this, quite a while. Okay. The one-man band, the busker. His travelling days are over, he can tell a tale or two. The sights he's seen all over the land, the busker, the one-man band. Drum on his back, cap on his head, guitar and harmonica in his hand. He'd set up on the street, and sometimes he got banned. The busker, the one-man band. But he brought good cheer, and the crowds would smile as he played his songs of his particular brand, the busker, the one-man band. Across the seas, wherever he played, his music was no language barrier. People would stop and raise their hands to the busker, the one-man band. It wasn't just the coins he got, he was given cans of beer, a sandwich and a shake of the hand for the busker, the one-man band. In Norway and in Germany, he'd brave their winter weather. He'd happily play his music for as long as he could stand, the busker, the one-man band. But now he has his memories and dons his kit for fun. He doesn't use it often, but it's always near at hand, the busker, the one-man band.
And you did get banned sometimes.
Yeah, strangely enough, Birmingham was the worst city in the world. years ago. I mean, it was the council. If I'm right, don't quote me on the radio, but I think it was the Quaker influence on the council.
Yes, they were beginning
ruled by a very
Birmingham.
strict council. And I got arrested a few times for. I hope I'm not jumping ahead here, but
no, it's fine.
I got arrested for obstruction, like I said previously. But the strange thing was that most times, if it actually went as far as going to court, the magistrates would throw it out and more or less say to the police in a roundabout way, why are you wasting our time with this? Go and catch some real villains.
Yeah.
So I used to sort of walk out of court with a smirk on my face to the great
You actually
annoyance
went to
of the
court.
constable.
That must have been frightening. So do you think that the Quakers, because the Cadbury family were Quakers,
That's it, yeah.
so because they, I suppose they were very moneyed in those days, that they... Were they on the council then, or were
I think
the council influenced by
I don't know.
the Cadbury family?
That's what I've heard. You know, the rumour.
Well, I
I
can
don't really
imagine.
know.
Yeah. I remember my grandmother having like a manual, a Quaker manual in the house, and I don't think I've got it anymore. It's interesting that. So yeah, Birmingham and Quakers. There's a Quaker house, isn't there, on the way in Stourbridge, isn't there? On the corner by the ring road.
There is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know whether it's in use. I've noticed it, but I don't know anything
It
about it.
always looks shut up to me. I
Yes,
don't
that's
know.
what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, but then I think they've had a new sign. Looks as if something's going on, but what? I've absolutely no idea.
Yeah, but Birmingham was the worst one, the worst city. It was.
And when he was taken in, they kept his takings.
They never did.
They did, didn't they?
Well, they did, but I did actually get them back.
Oh, did you?
Didn't I? Yeah,
I
I
thought
went-
they kept some of them.
No, they. If you want the story, I was I was arrested in Birmingham for playing music on the street, and carted off to Steelhouse Lane, and they confiscated my money.
Yeah.
And when I actually went before the magistrate sort of, in a very light-hearted almost way, said, "Well, we're going to fine you £10." So you can pay that out of your takings, can't you?
Oh,
and
the
prosecutor, who was really prosecuting for the police, said, "I'll come with you round to the police station to collect your takings," and they take it off down to Digbeth. So
What do you think they did with it?
Well, they didn't, because they were made to bring it back to Steelhouse Lane. I had to go back in the afternoon and pay my fine from that. But yeah, I mean, it was something and nothing really. The being arrested on the street for music, it was obstruction really.
Yeah. Anyway, what a story. We're going to play Tubular Bells now, and I think that will be the end of the first half, or have we got some more time left? Yeah, okay. Let's play Tubular Bells anyway.
Country Extra.
Welcome back. Our next song actually is going to be Honky Tonk Woman, which was chosen by Maddie. Can you just give us a...
Very quickly, I can tell you it was...
you don't have to be too quick.
Memories of my very first holiday without my parents. I was about 17, went with a friend to Margate, and this was the song that sort of stuck in the discos that we were going to. Our first sort of taste of freedom.
17, and just being
18.
together on your own.
Yeah, actually I'd be 18. It was the year just before I met Brian.
Okay, great. Off we go then with Honky Tonk Woman. Welcome back to the Sue Stevens Lighthouse Show. It's time for a live performance from Brian now, and he's going to do Baby I Love Your Way, which was written by Peter Frampton.
Peter Frampton,
Yeah.
one of my favourite songs.
Yeah, and mine actually. Off you go then, Brian.
Shadows grow so long before my eyes, and they're moving across the page. Suddenly the day turns into night, far away from the city. But don't hesitate, 'cause your love won't wait. Whoa, baby, I love your way every day. I wanna tell you I love your way every day. I wanna be with you night and day in every way. Moon appears to shine and light the sky with the help of some firefly. Wonder how they have the power to shine, shine, shine. I can't see them under the pine. But don't hesitate, 'cause your love won't wait. Whoa, baby, I love your way every day. I wanna tell you I love your way every day. I wanna be with you night and day in every way. Don't hesitate, 'cause your love won't wait. I can see the sunset in your eyes, brown and grey and blue besides. Clouds are chasing islands in the sun. Wish I could find one out of season. But don't hesitate, 'cause your love won't wait. Whoa, baby, I love your way every day. I wanna tell you I love your way every day. I wanna be with you night and day every way. Whoa, baby, I love your way every day.
Baby, I love your way. That was brilliant. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, while you just put your guitar down and rest it. Why that song then, Brian? I know you said it's one of your favourites, but did you look like Peter Frampton, or no, you didn't, did you?
Actually, I had hair as long at
you?
the time, believe it or not.
I fancied the pants off him.
Well, I remember him when he had a band called The Herd.
Oh, right.
That's where he started. And then I was a big fan of Humble Pie, who were an in-your-face rock and roll band with Steve Marriott.
Yeah.
So I just sort of followed his career, really. I just loved that song.
Yeah. And what was the other? You did another quite mainstream famous one, and I can't remember what it's called now.
He had a big album called Frampton Goes Live.
Right.
And there were a few good tracks on that, but I can't... My mind goes a blank now. It's an age thing.
I do say somebody out there can remember it. But yeah, I loved him. I thought, he's still going strong today, isn't he?
Oh, and he's a very, very nice guy. He does a thing on YouTube where he goes through all the equipment he uses, the guitars he had. And
I'll have to look that up.
He's a real nice fella, real nice chap.
Because he plays... He does a rundown on the guitar in that introduction to that, doesn't he? Which I've tried to, I looked on YouTube for various instruction, but never been able to try it out. So I'm not that clever, really.
Well,
anyway.
I just play songs. I mean, I don't really try and get them exactly right. I just do them my own sort of way.
The way that people people like Peter Frampton can do that up and down the neck.
Oh,
He's wonderful, and sometimes I wish I could play better. But as you say, it's if you can do a good rendition of it, it doesn't actually always have to be the same. I just like to have a go. Anyway, so let's talk about about the 90s now. We're coming forward a few years, aren't we? If that's okay. And your summer seasons that you used to do various places, Cornwall and wherever.
Yeah, it started really. I mean, Madeline might want to interject with. We did Cornwall, Devon. That was what we. But before that, I actually did residencies.
Oh right.
Starting off, I think the first one I ever did was in Rill.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I did 4 seasons at Rill. And I mean that's a story in itself, because
when you say season, explain what a season is.
Well, the summer season, it would start at would it be Easter or Whitsun?
Some were at Easter, some was Whitsun.
The main school bank holiday would be the start of the summer season, and I'd have to go and live there for the whole of the summer.
Right.
Which of course was good when the children broke up from school, because they'd have 6 weeks at the seaside.
Yeah. And did you get your digs paid for, or did you have to pay for them yourself?
It varied. It varied. It depends what deal you got. But I mean, what we did do, didn't we? The children had carte blanche to go on the fun fair and all the things, but we never let them abuse it. We restricted them to three times a week.
What a fabulous.
It was fantastic.
Bringing for the kids.
At one point, because of the accommodation, we had a little caravan, a trailer we never had before, a tiny little thing. And we got accommodation, but it wasn't ready when he was due to start the season in Rill, when we went down for probably the Whitsun week, the spring week. And so we took our caravan. And the day we got there, they hadn't sorted out anywhere we could put it. But they said, round the back of the fun fair, there's a car park area, a tarmac area, put it there. Okay, so we put it there, and then what we didn't realise till the next morning when they were testing it, we were underneath one of the big dippers, the loop. And the caravan was like shaking.
7 o'clock in the morning, the whole caravan was shaking like a...
We were actually underneath the...
when you say shaking, you mean the ground was shaking?
Yeah, we were directly under the roller coaster.
Next to the pillars that this big dipper was on. I can't remember what it was called.
Sounds
the looping star. The looping
star.
star. That was the one. Yeah. The looping star, and the ground vibrated.
You never got anybody flung out and.
No, this was before when they were testing it in the morning.
I see.
We were still asleep, 7 o'clock.
But we did find a better place the next day.
Yeah. No, I got something. You swapped your car for a van or something. Is that?
Well, that was when the touring started.
Oh, the touring.
Yeah. But I didn't need a van then, but when I started the summer touring around holiday parks, and I mean the resident seasons came to an end with a season in Blackpool, where I did the North Pier and Blackpool Tower, which was an experience. That was a great season, working in Blackpool Tower.
And did you have your name up?
On
the boards,
on the trams. Would you believe?
Yeah.
It was quite a good season. But and then after that, I started to get work in Cornwall and Devon, and that obviously with the children still travelling with us, I needed to get a van, so I got a big transit van.
Did you kit it out with beds and things?
Well, I had a bedding for myself when I was doing gigs where I didn't get accommodation when I travelled around the country, but I did put 3 aircraft type seats in the back, recliner seats, so the children could sleep. If we're travelling through the night or anything.
In those days, kids were just rolling around free in the back. Yeah. Around the country lanes, we occasionally late at night they'd be asleep and fall off. But, pick them back up, put them back on. That was the way it was,
Well, I know.
But that's when the touring started, and we bought a transit van and aircraft.
So in your van, where was the first place you toured to?
Cornwall.
Oh, it was Cornwall.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So let's talk about when you were in Cornwall, you did some surfing, didn't you?
Yeah, I was into surfing big time. You could carry a surfboard in the back,
Had you? Crikey. You've got to be fit for that, though, ain't you?
Well, that's why I gave it up, because I'm not fit. That's why I gave it up, because I'm not fit.
Did you go out with him then?
No, I don't do water.
You don't? Okay.
I got caught in it.
A paddle in to my ankles, and that's about it. And I'm not keen on swimming, so...
Madeline can remember I got caught in a rip current one day, and I was out of breath, and I thought, that's me finished with this.
I'd be if scared, you know, because some of the waves that you see, I don't know whether, I suppose we get huge waves, I don't know, because you look at the ones in America and wherever they go, the waves are huge and almost transparent. If one of those came over you, I'd be frightened, I would, you know.
And yet that's what
drowning.
surfers crave for. I mean, I never
The fright, you
did
mean?
anything. No, having a wave curl over the top of you,
Yeah.
you know, to go in the wave. But I never did anything like that. I wasn't that good.
No. Oh, okay. And you did some tombstoning? I didn't know what that was until you told me. Tombstoning.
Okay. You want the whole story?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Okay. Well, tombstoning was sort
I
of...
thought he was walking among gravestones or something.
Can I just put in here that I was not with him? This was before I joined him. Or this may not have happened had I have been there.
Ah, the voice of reason. The boss has spoken.
Yeah, we all went surfing one day in Hale, in Cornwall, and it was a blazing hot day, and we were walking back, and the sea was a lovely azure blue. We were all sweltering, and I happened to say, wouldn't it be lovely to just plunge in the sea off this cliff and cool off? And one of the guys that was with us was a lifeguard at the camp, and he said, I know where we can go and do that. Which was a place called Prussia Cove, just down from Penzance. And he, being a local and a lifeguard, knew that there was, even when the tide was out, there was no danger. So a group of us got together, about 6 of us, and including the guy who was the entertainment manager at this holiday park, who was he was a lovely, in fact, he was too nice, he couldn't tell anybody off. He was a bit like Tim Nice, but dim. You remember Harry Enfield? Anyway, the manager of the holiday park said, whatever you do, don't take this guy. But he wanted to come, so he hired a wetsuit for the day. And along he came. And also, there were 3 girls who worked behind the bar who just wanted to come to sit in the field watching what was going on. Well, the lifeguard said, right, when you jump, when you come up, go on the swell of the wave, swim to the right and clamber out. The swell will put you onto the cliff and you can clamber out.
How high were the cliffs, sorry, Brian?
Sorry?
How high were they?
Oh, pretty... I don't know. I mean...
Were you scared when you were standing on the edge?
Oh,
then?
yeah, I didn't stand on the end. I crept and looked over. I didn't stand on the edge. I crept up and looked over.
It was high.
Hands
I
and
saw the
knees.
spot later.
Anyway, the lifeguard made it quite... You know, he'd just jump in and go on the swell of the sea and get out and enjoy it. So the guy who I did it, and it was really exhilarating. It was fantastic, I've got to say. Plunging into the sea from that height, you know. Anyway, the guy, the manager, the entertainment manager of the holiday park, hired a wetsuit, jumped in, swam to the left, and came flat on this cliff face. And of course, the swell got him and knocked him against the cliff.
Yeah.
And he banged his head on the cliff and fell backwards into the sea. And to all intents and purposes, he was just lying on his back. But 3 of us jumped in and he was fine. We got him to... It was a sort of horseshoe-shaped bay. So we proceeded to swim with him to the sand, the beach. The holiday makers were going irate because, you know, how stupid we were doing this thing. The girls who'd come to watch us, these 3 girls who'd just come for a day out, sandwiches in a field, watching what was going on, they called an ambulance thinking that he'd been hurt.
Oh, right.
And an ambulance couldn't get to the cove.
Yeah.
So the next thing we know, there's a helicopter. And the medic from the helicopter came down and he was not happy. He was absolutely fuming, which is quite right. They needn't have called the ambulance, but he actually cut the wetsuit off this holiday. He paid to hire this wetsuit. They didn't mess around. They just got scissors, cut it straight off him.
So you would have had to pay for that, I suppose.
Well, he would have done, I guess.
Not the bloke who cut it off, but the person who'd hired it.
But when he came back, I mean, he wasn't hurt because he came back. He was back on duty on the night, back in the holiday park, but a bandage on his head. And the funniest thing was, he said that when he went to the hospital, he said to the sister at the hospital, he said, what kind of dressing do you think would be best for this? Because I've bashed my head on the rock, and what sort of dressing do you think? And the matron or sister, whatever it was, said, I don't give a damn what you have on your head. Wasting our time like this. So he got a got it in the neck always. But it was just one of those things which...
Yeah,
you know,
that you do.
You do.
Know, it's part of your life
It
experience.
needn't have been like
isn't
that.
it?
They needn't have called an ambulance.
No,
you
but
know.
that wasn't your fault, though,
No,
was
no,
it?
it wasn't, no.
It was somebody else's fault. It was the girls, did you say? That were...
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
his fault really, because he went to the wrong side. He should have listened.
Well,
and if
yeah,
he'd
I
have gone to
suppose.
the right, it'd have been
I
all
mean,
right.
your thoughts must be everywhere, other than where they need to be when you're jumping off that cliff.
Yeah.
You know, so perhaps he just got it wrong. Perhaps he didn't know his left from his right. Who knows? There you go.
Dangerous thing.
I know. I think it's time for another live performance, and I think we could have one off Maddie, another one of her poems.
Okay.
We could have something called Clubland.
Clubland,
which
yes.
is relevant to what we're talking about now.
Yeah, well, we got 3 girls by now, and we were able to take them to some of the venues where they allowed families in, or they could be left at home. So I was going with Brian more often to the social clubs and wherever. A lot of northern clubs were covered as well. So I spent endless nights sitting in these social clubs, which I'd never experienced before, while Brian was working. And
what did you think? What when
I-
you were sitting there and you're the, the axe wife. Did you get people coming up to you and saying how great he was?
Uncomfortable sometimes.
Oh, were you?
Yeah,
Why?
if you're sitting in the wrong seat, they glare at you. That's one of these
well,
club
that's
rules.
clubs though, isn't
Yes,
it?
Yeah.
Slotting it in with a bingo as well.
And one of sometimes he'd start with an out of tune song, and
not everybody gets that, you know.
no, and they'd be looking at me, and I have to sort of sit there. I'm enjoying this song. Nothing wrong with it until the punchline when he says, "Oh, it's just a joke." So yeah, but I got used to that.
Yeah.
So one night, sat there through the bingo. I don't do bingo, so I was pretty bored, and I wrote this poem. Call it Clubland. Social clubs are mostly the same. Committee men setting up the game of bingo, open the box and such. Up and down the land, they don't change much. Bill and Fred on drums and keys, Tom on the door collecting fees, Doris and Gladys having bingo tickets for sale, the men are queuing up at the bar for their ale. The compere arrives, bow tie, black case, a look of importance about his face. A house of bingo to start the night. The compere checks that his mic sounds all right. He sings a song or two to start the show, announces the turn, so here we go. The band strikes up, the lights go down. As the singer begins, the crowd begins to frown. The same old song sung over again. When will I hear something new? Oh, not the same. Only a few more songs to endure to the next house of bingo. That will be the cure. The excitement mounts as they open the box. Will there be a winner who can turn the locks? To finish the show, the compere takes the stage. Oh dear, Bill and Fred have got the wrong page. A glare from the compere and they hit the right note. Final announcement is the winner of the tote. A good time was had by the folks in the club, but for me, I prefer a night in the pub.
Oh, wow. Lovely. Another round of applause for Maddie. Thank you, Maddie. That was great. I think it's time. We're going to split it up a little bit now and have another tune called Light My Fire by The Doors. So off we go with Light My Fire.
You know that it would be untrue. You know that I would be a liar if I was to say to you, girl, we couldn't get much higher. Come on, baby, light my fire. Come on, baby, light my fire. Try to set the night on fire. The time to hesitate is through. No time to wallow in the mire. Try now, we can only lose, and our love become a funeral pyre. Come on, baby, light my fire. Come on, baby, light my fire. Try to set the night on fire. Yeah. hesitate is through. No time to wallow in the mire. Try now, we can only lose, and our love become a funeral pyre. Come on, baby, light my fire. Come on, baby, light my fire. Try to set the night on fire. Yeah. You know that it will be untrue. You know that I would be a liar if I was to say to you, girl, we couldn't get much higher. Come on, baby, light my fire. Come on, baby, light my fire. Try to set the night on 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 fire.
Black Country Xtra.
Yep, so we're talking to Brian and Maddie Williams about their life experiences, poetry and being on the road and all sorts. So let's talk about the places you've actually visited, because I know you weren't just an UK artist. You visited various countries around the world, mainly Europe, I think. So off you go, Brian. Give us some
Well, I think without doubt the nicest one we went to was Norway. Yeah, I mean, I went there more than anything, didn't I?
Twice a year.
It was a monthly residency in a bar, basically.
Oh, right.
But it was a music bar. You know, they went for the music and to eat pizza, really. It was like a pizza bar.
Yeah.
And they were great. But there were 4 40-minute spots a night. But they were great. I mean, being in Oslo, we used to get ships come in, American warships, and the sailors would all come up and have
So
a
it
good
was a
night.
different audience almost every time you did it?
Yeah, although you do get the same people come back quite
Yeah.
regularly. They enjoyed the music. You know,
Yeah.
they used to enjoy. They loved American country bands there at some of the venues, and the other venues they loved English sort of solo acts.
Yeah. Can I ask a question? Just interjecting there. I don't mean, but it's come up. I've seen it on Facebook quite a few times that since Brexit has come along, it's going to be more difficult for artists to perform abroad in the EU. Is that right, or you don't know? Anything
I
about
don't.
that?
I've got no plans to go abroad anymore. I mean, that's all.
No, I just wondered if you knew. You know.
I suppose it would be, yeah. I mean, I remember when I used to go to Germany, they used to have to have a green card,
Yeah.
and obviously have your passport.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you want me to tell you about the Berlin thing.
Oh, yeah.
We'll come back to Norway if you like, because Madeleine was with me in Norway, but she didn't come to Germany, and we only watched a film last night that sort of involved when the war was up. And it was quite a creepy place to be in then when Germany was split. And I had to go up what they called the military corridor, which was a way that the entertainers and the staff and the squaddies could get from West Germany. They'd have to go through East Germany into West Berlin. So you had checkpoint Alpha, then you'd be in East Germany, then checkpoint Beta, which was going into West, and then checkpoint Charlie, which is one everybody knows, where you went from West Germany into West Berlin into East Berlin. And I was just always aware that regardless where you were, there was somebody watching you through binoculars in these
you
checkpoints.
could actually see it.
Oh yeah, they watch you through binoculars.
Did
at
you
the
feel like
checkpoints.
you were also being watched on the streets, or?
No, not really. No, I
okay.
don't feel like that. But we were told, given strict instructions, that if we were parked in a lay-by in East Germany, if we'd stop for a rest,
Yeah.
if the East German police came along, just get in the car and go. And if you pulled in for a rest and the East German police were already there, don't stop. Now make of that what you will. But it was very
I don't
scary.
know what to make of it, actually. Would they just arrest you for nothing then? Or?
Well, the issue, I mean, I can only tell you what I was told you from the squaddy, but the East German police are worse than the Russians. So I'm told. Okay. But there was also the story I think I told you pre-show that it was about when we were told that we had to salute the the Russian soldier.
Yeah.
And he came out of this little blacked-out office and held the palm of his hand out with something in the palm of his hand. And when I got to checkpoint Beta, when I got into West Berlin, I said, what was the soldier doing? He came out and I saluted him and he showed me the palm of his hand. He had something. He said, he wants to swap. And I said, what do you mean swap? And he said, he's got something of interest. It might be a belt button or, something like that, a tunic button. He wants to swap. And I said, what does he want to swap for? And he said, sweets, pornography, cigarettes, anything they can't get in East Germany or East Berlin. So there you go. It was
Did you offer him anything?
I tried to get a belt buckle on my way back and I thought he'd take a £20 note, but he didn't.
Oh, he did?
It wasn't the same guy, but I mean the same.
Yeah.
They do it
so
evidently all the
this
time.
belt buckle you wanted was...
Red Star.
A Red Star.
It was beautiful, yeah.
And he was wearing that, so...
Well, that was part of the Russian uniform.
And perhaps he just couldn't give it away. Maybe he'd get told off.
But we went to Norway as well, and Madeline can tell you about that because that was...
Well, he'd only been doing it 12 months professionally.
Right.
And he's been maybe once or twice before. It was usually about April and September time that he went to Norway for this month. And by then we've got a year-old, the one that I was pregnant with when all this started with his one-man band, and a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
And he said, we can go. There's like student accommodation, there's flats where the musicians and students stay. And I've got all your baby equipment. And I thought nothing of it. Brian said, we'll go, it'll work. So we went. We folded up the cot, the high chair, all the baby equipment, pushchair and everything that we needed, loaded it on top of this car and went off to Norway. But he'd met these people who wanted to come over to the Edinburgh Festival, and they got 2 boys, and they were stuck for babysitters, house sitters. So we ended up going to stay with them for a week to look after the boys. They'd never met me, we'd never met the boys. We had to do the packed lunches, take them to school. We had a good time with them, but it was quite strange. I didn't even see the parents. And
you'd got one of your own at this time?
I'd got a 4-year-old and a toddler. Well, no, she wasn't a toddler. She actually took her first steps in Norway. She was 1, just a year old. She had a birthday out there, I think, or just had a birthday. Anyway, it came to Brian to start his job, because we'd gone a week early. His job started on the 1st of the month. These people weren't back till about the 3rd. So Brian drove up with most of the equipment, and I think I had to sleep on a mattress with the baby the last night, or a couple of nights. And I stayed till these people came back, which meant then I had to travel a 5-hour train journey with a year-old.
Kristiansand to Oslo.
Kristiansand to Oslo. And it was a nightmare because it felt, thinking back, that she cried the whole way. I couldn't speak the language, and there's people looking. You take treats for a baby, all the treats were gone in half an hour. And she cried, and I remember I'd got up and gone into the little, between the carriages to try and rock her, and it took her ages. 5 hours, horrible. So that stayed with me.
Yeah.
But then we got there and we settled into this apartment. A bit tricky with a pushchair up and downstairs and lifts and that, and I had to keep her quiet because there were musicians working late. So it was a bit tense. I was walking the streets at 6:30, 7 in the morning just to keep her quiet if the baby woke up. And there were all these little parks that I'd not seen before with swings and little springy roundabout things for the kids, which they played on.
Yeah.
Walking the streets of Norway, and I couldn't speak the language. It was a bit strange, but good memories.
Yeah.
Good memories. Well, I only did that once, but Brian did it several times.
Right. Norway. And you recommend going to Norway, would you?
Fabulous.
Oh, yeah.
Is it?
My only regret is I don't know why I didn't take many photographs.
Yeah,
We
perhaps
visited
you were
lots
just
of-
too busy with crying children.
Yes. That would probably be it. But when I think back how I did it, the thought of doing
Well, you were
it now-
young.
Exactly.
Yeah, the thing
you
is,
just do these things, don't you?
Yeah, you just don't want to do it now anyway, do you?
No.
I think we get stressed easier when we're
That's
older.
right, yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. But,
We've got some there, another good one. I mean,
Yeah, go on then, yeah.
the Norwegians are a peculiar race. We call it Monty Python land, really. But we were playing in the bar I was, which was in Oslo. There was the one-man band I was telling you about earlier, and a lad from London played the congas, and this American guy played guitar. He used to come and sit in with me occasionally.
yeah.
And there was a Norwegian guy They're well known for getting drunk.
Yeah.
And he came up and said, "Can you play a song for me?" And I said, "Yes." He came up with 3 beers, that was it. And the beer at the time was about £5 a pint, which was expensive at the time. I'm going back a long way now.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe £3 a pint. Anyway, he came back and he put 3 beers on the stage for us and wandered off. And then he came back with another 3 beers and said, "Can you play a song for me?" I said, "Yeah, just let me know what you want me to play." And he wandered off again. And then he came back and put a 100 kroner note, which was like a £10 note, in between these 6 glasses on the foot of the stage and went, "Long way to Tipperary." So he paid he paid about 30 quid to hear Long
And
Way
did you
to
know
Tipperary.
it? Long way to
Sorry?
Tipperary. Did you know it?
I learnt it pretty quick. I did it. I bluffed
You
it.
hadn't got phones in those days that you could look the words up on.
No, I laughed through it, I think. But yeah, but he wouldn't have known anyway.
No,
It was- but
don't suppose
it's
he
just that's how loony they are. You know,
Yeah.
they're fabulous people, fabulous.
Yeah.
You know, so
And
much
have
fun.
they got a sense of humour then? A good sense of humour? Or is it sort of dry? Do you think he was saying "long way to Tipperary" just because he thought you may not know it? Or
Oh no!
Yeah.
That's
Just-
they used to love that. They used
Okay.
to pay you. They used to pay you. Give you 100 kroner note to pay Streets of London or House of the Rising Sun or the favourites. And Long Way to Tipperary was a. They just
okay.
yeah. This guy was. I mean, he was a regular. Shall we say, had one too many most nights. So.
Oh, right. He was always in there.
But good fun. I mean, never any trouble. Good
Yeah.
good fun. You know, it was just great days.
Great. Shall we have a live performance? Yeah? So what we're going to have is Don't Think Twice, It's All Right from Brian.
Well, this was one that Bob Dylan is so popular in Norway. This is one of the regular ones I played every night, and I was a big Dylan fan myself, so yeah, Bob Dylan. Ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe, if you don't know by now. Ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe, it don't matter anyhow. When the rooster crows at the break of dawn, look out your window and I'll be gone. You're the reason I'm traveling on, so don't think twice, it's alright. Ain't no use you turning on your light, babe, that light I've never knowed. Ain't no use you turning on your light, babe, I'm on the dark side of the road. Well, I wish that there was something you could do or say to try and make me change my mind and stay. We never did too much talking anyway, so don't think twice, it's alright. I'm walking down that long and lonesome road, babe, where I'm bound, I can't tell. Goodbye is too hard a word, babe, so I'll just say fare thee well. Now I ain't a saying you treated me unkind, I could have done better, but well, I don't mind. You just kinda wasted my precious time, so don't think twice, it's alright. Ain't no use you calling out my name, babe, like you never done before. Ain't no use you calling out my name, babe, 'cause I can't hear you anymore. Well, I'm thinking and a wondering all the way down the road. I once loved a woman, a child, I am told. I gave her my heart, but she wanted my soul. So don't think twice, it's alright. I gave her my heart, but she wanted my soul. So don't think twice, it's alright.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. That was lovely. Thank you very much. So, you said earlier, if you just want to put your guitar down,
Yeah,
we've got loads of
cheers.
time. You said earlier that you like Bob Dylan. Do you do any more by him?
Yeah, I do a few.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay. Which ones do you do? Can you remember?
My favourite's Lay Lady Lay.
Lay Lady Lay.
Yeah.
Okay. That doesn't get played much in the clubs, does
No,
it?
I think there's a lot of great songs by. I mean, you never hear Streets of London. People
No,
don't.
I think, because I think what happened is...
Not. I don't mean
was-
that's a Bob Dylan song, but
No,
I mean
I know
it's like
what you
one of
meant.
the classics that's not
But
played because
it becomes a bit of a cliche and people stop doing
exactly.
it, don't
Yeah,
they?
yeah. I think it's a shame.
Yeah, so do I.
I mean, Blowing in the Wind,
Yeah,
Bob Dylan, great
yeah,
song.
Great song. But I think what happens is people pick up a great song. They pick up a great song like The Streets of London and everybody's singing it. And then you get people thinking, oh, God, not The Streets of London
Yeah,
again.
that's it, yeah.
And then what happens is then people stop doing it. But, yeah, another fabulous song. I do that one, Streets of London. Well,
I do
used
on
to.
the street. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's well, I do it on the street, and it's amazing how many people come up to me
Yeah.
and say that's my favourite song, one of my favourites.
Yeah.
Amazing how many people actually come up and say that.
And more pertinent today, I think.
Yeah,
when you think
absolutely.
about it, there's more people on the streets than ever, I think. Not just busking.
Oh yeah, it does seem that way.
It does. I wanted to talk to you about a little memory in the 80s about you trying to get home for Christmas. Remember that one?
Oh yeah, driving home for Christmas.
Oh, the motorbike. Do you want to?
No.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the finer details.
I was on a tour with a group and a comedian, and the last show of the tour was the night before Christmas Eve, and
Yeah.
we were in Berlin.
Yeah.
So it was a case of finish the show, throw the gear in the car, and drive to Ostend through the night, with 2 stops for fuel and probably coffee or something. So we did the show. I was sort of on in the middle of the show, so I was able to pull my gear off and get it into the car. And sure enough, off I went from Berlin to Ostend, stopping a couple of times to refuel. I got to Ostend as dawn was breaking, just getting daylight, and I could see the funnel of the ferry over the rooftops. So that's how close I was. And all of a sudden the car conked out at the traffic lights. It stopped, it wouldn't restart. So this was in Belgium, obviously. I didn't speak any Belgian, so I got on the phone and tried to, in sort of broken English, explain what was going on, and didn't get anywhere with that. I think we left it on the phone that they were going to send the European road assistance out, but in between time, a squaddie, pulled up going home on leave on a Harley Davidson, and said, "You got a problem?" And I said, "Yeah, it looks like the alternator's gone, battery's flat, and I can't restart it." He said, "Were you going for the ferry?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Hook it up." So basically, to cut a long story short, what happened was I always carried a tow rope with me anyway. He hooked my car, which was full of gear, onto this Harley Davidson motorbike, and dragged me onto the ferry.
Yeah.
To the delight of all the passengers, who gave us a round of applause when he pulled up. It was a Harley Davidson pulling a car.
That's
in a
incredible,
straight-off
isn't
full.
it?
Yeah, absolutely. And
Oh, well, the people who own Harley Davidson these days, they probably wouldn't do that. I mean, they keep them lovely and shiny. I mean, Harley Davidson is the top bike to have.
It must be a powerful bike.
Yeah, it must be when you think. I suppose what
But,
size engine was it?
I kept in touch with him for a while, the guy that did it, and And but when they got one of these tractors, you know, that they get for pulling luggage trolleys around. At the other end, the AA came out, put an alternator on, and off I went. And I was home in time for Christmas. Driving home for Christmas. Yeah,
Did you do that one?
Yeah, I used to. Yeah,
what's his name? Chris Rea.
Yeah, Chris Rea. Yeah.
Good song that is. It's always one of my favourites. You know, Christmas. It means Christmas. You know, you're driving in the car and you're trying to get home for Christmas.
Very poorly now, Chris Rea.
Yeah, well, he had pancreatic cancer, didn't he? Is it the same?
Another of my favourite.
I thought he got over it, but has it come back or is it?
No, I think he's retired from now. He's retired from playing.
Yeah, no, but I mean his cancer.
I don't know.
Pancreatic. Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway, I think we're going to have to move on a little bit now, and I want to play a song called "Down at the Doctor's."
Oh, yeah.
By Dr. Feelgood, because I think this has a lot of relevance for yourself. So we'll play "Down at the Doctor's."
Place to go, round about 5, down to the doctor, down to the doctor, come on down to the doctor, make you feel good all night. Everybody needs a shot of R&B, so come on down to my surgery, down to the doctor. The doctor, come down to the doctor, make you feel good all night.
Down at the Doctor's by Dr. Feelgood, and that has quite a lot of relevance to the conversation that we're going to have now, in that Brian found a lump in his neck, and which turned out to be cancerous. I guess that really stopped you in your tracks at the time. So if you want to, you know, just...
Well, can I just say as well, Down at the Doctor's, that's because I'm a great Dr. Feelgood fan as well.
Oh, is it? It's got nothing to do with it?
Well, it has. I mean, it's obviously relevant, but I love that in-your-face rock and roll that Wilco Johnson plays. Yeah. We're going to see him later in the year. So anyway, sorry. Yeah. Yes, I had this lump appear in my neck, which I'm not one of these guys that says, "Oh, I'm not going to bother with it." I went straight round to the doctor's.
Good for you.
And he kept his eye on it, in inverted commas, for a couple of weeks. and then said, I'm going to refer you to the hospital. So I went to the hospital for various scans. And then they said, we're going to have to take this lump out to investigate it further, which they did.
Yeah.
And we went away on holiday, didn't we?
Well, it was
So
January
went away on
when
holiday.
we first went to the hospital. By the time we got the results, it was June, end of May.
But we'd been away in Cornwall on holiday. Nothing to do with playing, just a holiday. And when I got back, they said we found it's
Got
cancerous.
the bombshell.
Yeah.
And it was like, I didn't know what I thought, really. I just thought, well, that's the end of it, really. You know, it's...
And it was obviously affecting your voice at this time, was it? Or
No, it wasn't.
it wasn't?
No, in fact, when I took the lump out, I was obviously got stitches in my neck there. You can see the scar now. But I actually did a gig with the stitches in, didn't I?
A week later, yeah.
A week later, when they took the lump out,
Yeah.
I did a gig in Hales Owen at, funnily enough, the Law Lodge. Where,
Oh, right.
where
Yeah.
So,
It was the chemo and radio that did the damage.
Yeah.
yeah, so
As it was.
they found that the lump was cancerous, and I had to go. We because Madeline was an absolute great support and a brick, I've got to say, and she had other things she was dealing with at the time. So she did great, great support for me. We went to the hospital at
8 weeks.
New Cross, and the consultant said, right, you're having a course of radiotherapy and chemotherapy.
Yeah.
And I had chemotherapy all day on a Monday, and then Monday to Friday, radiotherapy.
Yeah.
Can I just quickly say something as well? That what struck us, what really brought it home to me was at the time, Russell's Hall had got 4 radiotherapy units.
Yeah.
And my treatment, I had to have a mask made so they could pinpoint where the cancer was. And they've got 4 radiotherapy units, and the treatment from going in, going on the table, having your treatment and coming out again is about 15 minutes in total.
Yeah.
So basically, Madeline just said to me, do you realise there's 4 units and they're in use all day, every day?
Yeah.
4 units, all
Yeah.
day, every day, 15 minutes your treatment.
Yeah.
Really made you think.
Yeah. That's,
how
that's
many
what I
people-
had to have. Because I had breast cancer, and I had to have 15-minute shots for 2 weeks. Anyway, we're digressing. I don't want to talk about me, really. But can we have... I think we've got time for a little poem off
Okay.
Maddie, and I think this is
Well,
relevant to...
As Brian
this time.
mentioned, as well as his cancer, I was dealing with my mum with dementia.
Yeah.
Dad had passed on quite suddenly, and we were left realising Mum had got dementia. And this is, I may not have written this at the time. It may have been before. I'm not sure. But I love my garden, and this is what got me through that difficult year.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And it's called Sanctuary. I love my open-air living room, so much space and air, the sounds and smells around me I sense when relaxing in my chair. There's always cleaning and tidying up to keep the place neat and trim, watering the plants, feeding the fish, hearing the birds sing their evening hymn, working up a sweat, getting hands dirty, bending down on knees, stretching to reach up high. When all the work is done, enjoy reclining under the pale evening sky. Breakfast at a rustic seat, lunch on the arbour, sunbathing on the lounger, afternoon tea on the sunny patio, reading a book when the day has gone cooler. I wish I could live in my garden. I stay out from dawn to dusk. I can sit in the sun or under a tree. By evening there's a fragrance of soft, gentle musk. Hard work by day and leisure by night. It's a place of peace and tranquility. Solar lights, pond fish, hypnotic and calming. It's my part of the earth, my sanctuary.
Oh.
Sanctuary.
Yeah, and it's a lovely garden. I've still
You've experienced it.
yeah, well, I've been in it, haven't
have,
I?
yes.
The other week. I've got the agapanthus for you, by the way.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah, I'll try and drop it round maybe next week. Listeners really wanted to know that, but it is live. Right. So, that must have affected when you had the radiotherapy and everything else. You got what you call lockjaw. Is that
Oh
right?
yeah, well that's that's it, the effect of the radiotherapy. Basically, all that means I struggle to eat food,
Yeah.
and the treatment for that is physical, just putting lollipop sticks in your mouth.
Really?
Yeah, they put like the doctor's spatula.
Oh,
You know, Dr.
okay.
Spatulas, they used to say they give you a wedge of those and you gradually try and widen them, but
And as
hurts.
your vocals come back as they were, or is it slightly different now?
No, my vocal range was compressed totally, so I've had to rekey a load of songs, and I have to sing in
So
parameters.
it's lower. Your key is lower.
No,
rather-
it's quite the opposite. This is what a lot of people think. It's the low notes that are more difficult to get.
Mm.
If you're going for high notes, you're stretching for those, so you're physically trying harder.
Yeah.
But the low notes, as you know, there's not that much pressure to get them out, so you struggle to get the low notes out
Yeah.
more. It's weird.
Right. Okay. Well, you've had a bit of a journey, pair of you, and
We have.
it's been a fantastic journey. And I'd like to thank you both for coming into the studio and doing your stuff and playing the songs and your poetry and everything else. So we're going to sign out now.
Rosie, oh Rosie, I'd like to paint your face up in the sky. Sometimes when I'm busy relaxing, I look up and catch your eye. Your eyes when they're wide, they bring thunder and lightning, and sunset strokes the color to your skin. Your eyes are so blue, I just think of a blue sky and bumblebees buzzing on the wind. Rosie, oh Rosie, it's raining when you look the other way. Rosie, oh Rosie, your laughter brings sunshine